Welcome to the first Witness Wednesday. My name is Catherine McFade. I'm the President and CEO of the Center for Effective Government. We're co-sponsoring this event with the National Employment Law Project, the National Women's Law Center, and the Coalition on Human Needs. This month, the number of unemployed Americans who have been denied federal emergency unemployment benefits has reached 3 million. In the hour we're going to be standing here, another 429 people will join the ranks of the long-term unemployed and the too long unassisted. We need to extend federal unemployment benefits. Over a third of the almost 10 million Americans who are looking for work have been looking for almost 6 months, for at least 6 months. The average time people spend searching for work now is almost 9 months. We needed to reinstate federal unemployment benefits months ago. Extending these benefits has never before been viewed as a partisan issue, and it shouldn't be now, because the unemployed are us. They're veterans, they're union members, they're single mothers and single fathers, they're lifelong Republicans. They're children taking care of aging parents. They're young people who are trying to get into the labor market and establish a work history. They're people who are not quite old enough for Social Security. They're Americans of every hue and every ethnicity and every education level. In short, they look like the American workforce because they are part of the American labor force and they want to be heard. They don't want us to forget them, ignore them, or neglect them. They don't want to be used as a political football, as a punching bag, or a scapegoat. They want to be respected, remembered, and heard. We know this because they've sent us their stories. And so, for 7 Wednesdays this summer, we're going to read their stories in their own words and ask the people who have the power to provide help to these individuals and their families to listen and to learn how their failure to act is devastating the lives of millions of their fellow Americans. We're not going away, we're not giving up. We're going to lift up the voices of the unemployed and honor their humanity. It's fitting that these events will be led off by Representative Sander Levin from Michigan. Representative Levin has been a fierce and unwavering advocate for the unemployed. He has fought tirelessly for months to get them support, and we know he'll keep on fighting for every American who needs this critical assistance. I'm honored to introduce Representative Sander Levin.
All right. Thank you. Well, we're here. We're all the same. We will keep going. Rain or shine. When we started this, December 28, 1.3 million Americans lost every cent of their benefits. Now it's over 3 million. Over 3 million. The workforce, because of this, is diminishing. So this is having major consequences for the families, as well as the person who's not receiving unemployment insurance, the whole family, for a nation's economy, and for the workforce. We now are going to tell stories. Why? Because for too many in this institution, these are the forgotten Americans. The forgotten Americans. And we're determined their stories be told. We have over several thousand, and I now am going to read a story from a gentleman in Philadelphia. Lost his job of 20 years. I quote, "Unemployment was a lifesaver. I managed to pay most but not all of the bills, but we were at least surviving. Since this emergency benefit was terminated, I am left with no income and no hope. At 56 years old, I am forced to start all over, trying to find something, anything, that will pay less than half my previous salary. Everything I have worked for is gone. I've had to beg and plead with family and friends to be able to make meager payments on my bills. We have sold almost everything There's so many things in this one statement. We had to sell, including my wife's wedding rings. We will be married just 3 years in August. At this point, I don't know how or if we will have a home in the next couple months. Without the help of extended unemployment, there is no chance to get out of this dark hole the forgotten Americans were determined to fight for. And next is Liz Schuler of the AFLCIO.
Thank you, Congressman. I'm Liz Schuler. I'm the Secretary-Treasurer of the AFL-CIO, and that's America's Federation of Labor Unions in this country. I'm representing, if you can see behind me, standing on these shoulders, 12.5 million working men and women in this country who, many of them, have lost their jobs due to outsourcing and the Great Recession. So we're here in support. We're here in support of all working people. I think some members of Congress think it's their job to deprive 3 million workers and their families of the lifeline that they so desperately need. And we disagree. We disagree on moral grounds. We disagree on economic grounds. And it's just plain unfair to those trying to work and make it in this economy. So we're here as a witness. It's Witness Wednesday. I'm here as a voice to bring you the voice of one of them, Gary in Bordentown, New Jersey. And Gary, in his own words, says, "My name is Gary, a resident of New Jersey with a wife suffering with a lifelong chronic immune disease and 11-year-old twin boys. I've worked for over 30 years, the past 20 as a carpenter in the Carpenters Union. I had opened one unemployment claim and it was cut off after the 13 weeks of assistance. We are now living off credit cards at high rates and exhausting our life savings. I spend 10 hours a day applying for jobs, countless interviews, always coming in second to the competition. We are now faced with taking money from our children's college fund and our pensions and IRA. We cannot sustain much longer without an unemployment extension. My wife is now too ill to work and has been awaiting Social Security benefits for over a year. I have hundreds of job applications submitted and need my extension to feed my family during my job search. Please pass the extension for unemployment. Gary, we haven't forgotten you. We stand with you." And now, Congresswoman Jan Schakowsky.
Hi, I'm Congresswoman Jan Schakowsky from the 9th District of Illinois. On my Facebook and website, I've solicited stories from people who have lost their unemployment insurance, and I have received dozens of them. I'm going to read one today from John Urednik from Arlington Heights, Illinois, in my district, and explains why his unemployment insurance running out and how it's affected his family. I did 8 years, John says. I did 8 years on active duty as a nuclear submarine officer, separating from active duty in 2010. I was fortunate to find a position immediately after separating, which I held for 3 years. During those years, I worked full-time and attended school in the evenings, working on a graduate degree. However, in April 2013, I was let go from my full-time job. I hoped to find another position that would allow me to stay in Chicago while I finished my graduate degree, but all of the positions available would require me to move away or travel more than 50% of the time, neither of which was compatible with finishing my education that I had already invested so much in. My wife, our 3 kids, and I made it on her single income, my small severance, savings, and until December 2013, my unemployment insurance. Since UI expired, we've been tapping into the savings even quicker and now no longer have our down payment for the house we hoped to buy after I graduated and got a new job. I have just graduated and am currently looking for full-time employment, but opportunities are limited until the Illinois law bars results come out late this fall. Right now, it's a race against the clock, getting employment before our savings run out. Looking for a new job is hindered by unemployment running out. Any networking that I can do or pro bono work that would get my skills in front of potential employers are weighed against me finding childcare for 3 kids and with my wife working. Those are real expenses of hoping for future income. If savings run out before I can find employment in the law community, I will have to resort to taking any position to make ends meet, and that may mean I never get to use my law degree that I invested so much time toward. Restoring UI would help me find a new and higher paying job. That's from John. Let me just say that some of our colleagues on the Republican side call things like unemployment insurance some sort of a hammock for lazy people. This is somebody who wants to work and improve his skills and be a great contributor to our country as well as to his family. Shame on them.
And next we have Reverend Stacy Martin.
Thank you.
Reverend Martin. I'm here. I'm Stacy Martin from the Evangelical Lutheran Church in America, and I'm here today to remind us that this is just an economic issue, and it's not simply a moral issue. It's a spiritual issue. I bring a story from Laurel Springs, New Jersey. My job as a breast cancer coordinator ended when funding ended. My main duty was helping uninsured women obtain a free or low-cost mammogram. I myself, a 10-year cancer survivor, loved this job. My husband and I both worked for the same company and lost our positions 3 months apart. Right now, we are barely surviving on his Social Security, but are very proud people and refuse to ask for a handout. We will be losing our home of 33 years, where we raised 3 sons and 1 grandchild. We just sold our car to make next month's payment, and we buy food, what we can, from Walmart. We're not complaining, just living day by day and trusting in God. For the record, my husband and I have never been unemployed in 42 years of marriage. We realize that there are many people who are in a much worse position than us, but mostly I think about the children and how they suffer. I remember as a child watching my parents struggle, and the day my father left and we had to go on welfare. My mother hated every minute of what she perceived to be charity, and I vowed to never go that route. Please, if for no other reason, help the children who did not sign up for this. Think about employing some of the long-term unemployed to help with reinstating benefit paperwork. Think about creating special programs for those too young to retire or too old to get hired. I really hope someone will read this and take into consideration what this country really stands for and stands out from other countries. Our prayers are with you and all of you.
My name's Keith Ellison, and I represent the 5th District in Minnesota, and I'd like to read a statement from Melanie. I'm a single mom with 4 teenagers. I'm in my last class for my MBA, looking for work, and had to withdraw from my class because of the fear and the stress of losing the home that I own. I need to feed my kids and finish school while continuing to look for work with my new degree. Poverty does not discriminate, nor does it reflect my ability or willingness to work hard. That's Melanie.
Okay. Thank you. I'm Ed Jane. I'm here today representing the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees. AFSCME represents over 1 million public service workers, including thousands like this unemployed Head Start worker from Pennsylvania whose story I'm going to read today. And I would say this story represents one of millions of working Americans everywhere who've lost their jobs. They're not obviously not able to be here today, but we're here to speak out on their behalf about the dire need to pass long overdue legislation to restore emergency unemployment insurance to more than 3 million Americans. This story is from C in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I lost my job after 3 years working with low-income and impoverished children because we lost our Head Start grant. Since then, I've been looking for work to support myself and my 10-year-old son. I have done my best to shield my son from this hardship, but with EUC being shut down, I'm afraid we will lose our home once and for all. I applied approximately 20 jobs per day, and I'm just asking for some type of security until I get back on my feet. It hurts that I have lived my life helping others in need, and when I need help, Congress turns their back on me. Please extend emergency unemployment benefits soon. We need it. I'm not asking for handouts or anything. I just want to be able to make ends meet until I find work. It's unfair to leave Americans hanging out there on a limb with no support. See in Philadelphia, we hear you and we stand with you. Thank you.
I'm Dan Kildee. I represent the 5th District in Michigan. The night that the Senate passed unemployment extension, I introduced H.R. 4415, which is the precise language passed by the Senate. Later today, we will have a series of votes on the floor of the House. And because of the number of votes we've been having, they will be 2-minute votes, where we have 2 minutes to cast our vote. It would take little or no effort at all for the House leadership to bring H.R. 4415 to the floor. And it would take us 2 minutes to pass unemployment extension that would save misery and restore some degree of stability for 3 million Americans. The Republican leadership don't have 2 minutes for 3 million Americans that are suffering. One of them is Beth from Grand Blanc, Michigan. Beth writes, quote, I was laid off after 16 years as a public school teacher. Economy declining, school closing. I'm substitute teaching. I was collecting what she calls underemployment to make ends meet. I'm a single mom of 2, and I've lived in the house I, quote, own, unquote, mortgage payments for 10 years. I have 2 master's degrees, teaching and public administration, and I'm a specialist in education administration. I had savings. My mom helped me a little. I look for jobs, apply for positions ranging from $11 an hour to $25,000 a year and upward, with an emphasis on lower paying jobs, as I figure I'll just have to work my way up. I'm confident I will get a job. But in the meantime, just like everybody else that you are slamming, I need a little financial help. The help that I've been paying into for 68% of my life. That's from Beth from Grand Blanc. I'd now like to bring my good friend and freshman colleague, Stephen Horsford from Nevada.
Thank you, Dan, and to my colleagues who are here and to our partners who are trying to bring a voice to the 3 million people. I was elected to Congress from Nevada's 4th District to be a voice for my constituents, some 37,000 Nevadans who have concern, who are feeling tremendous pain because the Republicans in Congress won't allow us a vote. I want to share a story from Juanita from Las Vegas. After losing my job, my son and I can't even afford food or a place to live. We have had a really hard time. I ended up losing my home and my car with no money to get around while looking for work. I walk around every day looking for work and putting in applications. We can't afford health insurance. If unemployment extension is approved, that would at least help me get back on my feet and get around to more places to find work. I'm a single mother, and with my son, it's really hard.
There are people out here who really need the help. Single mothers and fathers who are trying very hard just to take care of their homes. Think of the little people and help, please.
Hello, my name is Debbie Weinstein. I'm Executive Director of the Coalition on Human Needs. I'm here today because it's wrong for Congress to abandon people who have worked their whole lives only to be left out in the cold, as the gains from their hard work go solely to corporations and the wealthy few. And I'm also here to thank the champions from Congress who are here today who want to turn this around. Please listen to Kelly from Panama City Beach, Florida. I am a single father of 2 small children, a boy who is 5 and a little girl who is 3. I worked for a steel pipe company for over 6 years and loved my job. A couple years ago, the company I worked for did a downsizing, and I was laid off along with 20 other people. I have worked hard my entire life. I've never been afraid of hard work, but living in a tourist town that pretty much shuts down for 6 months out of the year, it's very hard to find work. Unemployment isn't something that people are asking for just because they are lazy or do not want to work. It's something that some people need temporarily to be able to survive on. I am 33 years old. I have worked since I was 15 years old, paying my taxes and never asking for a handout. But now I truly need one, and I hope the Senate and the House realize that this extension needs to be passed for the people like myself that are trying to learn a career and get back into the workforce. I have to add, emergency unemployment compensation, Kelly, is not a handout. It's simple justice and common sense to prevent the jobless from losing so much they cannot get back to the economy and cannot protect their children from harm during this difficult time. Kelly, we hear you. We stand with you.
David. Good afternoon. I'm David Cicilline from Rhode Island's 1st Congressional District. I'm really delighted to be with everyone, and particularly to thank my colleagues who are here for all of the work that we're all doing to ensure that unemployment benefits are extended for millions of Americans. I come from Rhode Island, which has the highest unemployment rate in the country. Unemployed people have become invisible to the Republican House leadership, and we are trying in every way we can to make them understand how people are really hurting as a result of this failure. I'd like to share a story with you from Anthony, who is from Providence, Rhode Island, and he wrote to me, "I recently lost my apartment. I've not had income to even negotiate a stay. Keeping my phone on has been a struggle as well, as it's needed to apply for jobs and view job boards. Transportation to interviews has become leery, and I have to pass on some jobs for reasons of not being able to afford public transportation. There's a crumbling feeling I'm having for the America I helped fight for, worked for, and paid taxes to. Please consider and pass the extension of unemployment benefits. If not for the ex-Navy CB, civilian carpenter, then for the homeowners facing foreclosure and the job seekers needing gas to get to interviews, or perhaps the increasing of our economy." Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Christian Dorsy. I'm Director of External and Government Affairs at the Economic Policy Institute, and it stands as a defining challenge of our time: how to build an economy where resilient and hard-working Americans can find good jobs, and where we develop and value human capital at least as much as we facilitate returns on investment. Now today I'd like to speak for one such American, Dennis, who resides in Hamilton in my home state of New Jersey. And Dennis says, "Well, I was laid off from a major corporation after 7 years in sales. Now with 2 children, ages 3 and 1, it has been extremely difficult. After being laid off, I went back to school to become a school teacher under a tuition waiver program. Things were manageable until after about 6 months, when I had to stop going to school because of my benefits running out. I'm currently looking for another job, and I'm going to try to go to school at night, but I've had no luck so far. Now, I don't need a job training program for a job that may or may not exist. I need assistance while trying to achieve graduation from school and eventually where I can get a job where I will not be laid off again and be put back at this very point. Now, there is no need to pull the rug out from under the ones who are hurting the most. I almost feel like being laid off, that I've been laid off again by my own government. Now, Dennis has been resilient, and he is hardworking, and he's creative, and he's reorienting his career goals to the noblest of professions, becoming a teacher. What's his reward? As he says, we're pulling the rug out from underneath him. But remember, we're not just doing it to Dennis, we're also doing it to his 2 children as well. The effects of bad policy, like not supporting the long-term unemployed, have scarring effects that can last for generations. Now, we at the Economic Policy Institute will not stop standing with these members of Congress and all of you in exposing this moral failure and this economic policy malpractice that affects nearly 3.5 million American families. And I want you to know, Dennis, we hear you and we are proud to stand with you. It is now my pleasure to introduce Representative Lee. She's not here. So, Sister Marge Clark.
Good afternoon. I'm Sister Marge Clark from Network, a National Catholic Social Justice Lobby. Indeed, I was glad to hear Christian talk about this as a moral issue because indeed, this is a severe, serious moral issue. These people have been working, they have been looking for work. We interact with thousands of people every week, every day through Network's outreach. And they are talking with people in their parishes, in their neighborhoods, in their families, every place they go. They are hearing stories, they are sharing stories. Many of our followers are unemployed, many of them are underemployed, and many of them are working hard to try to get jobs for other people. It is a moral issue. I want to share with you today a story from Eric in South Grafton, Massachusetts. My wife, my 2 daughters, and myself were living, barely, off unemployment. I was a postal worker for years and lost my position in April. It's been almost 2.5 months now since I've received any income. We have sold off everything of value just to stay afloat. Now, my car insurance got cut off. I find it near impossible to now look for work, since I live at least 15 minutes drive to the closest areas of business. If you don't think of me during this debate, please think of my children. My wife and I have been trying so hard to not break down in front of them and cry, and have been trying so hard to keep this family together. We are both at our ends, and our families have helped, but they are out of extra financial support. Please help with saving my family, along with the other 3 million who are feeling like me.
So we thank the champions here who have been fighting for extending unemployment benefits, and we thank all of you for standing with the unemployed. We'll be back next Wednesday. Thank you very much.
And I have an invitation for any and all of you. The faith group, which is called the Interfaith Working Group on Domestic Human Needs, is following this event, walking through the halls of the House buildings, delivering letters to some members of Congress, and reading stories aloud as we go. Stories of people who are unemployed and have lost their benefits. So please join us. I'll be someplace right over here.
They want to take a photo, and then he wants to.
Oh, St. Andrews.